Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Cambridge Podcasts. Today we'll be discussing virtual models and the future of fashion. Guys, would you like to introduce yourselves?
My name's Viren, Swami. I am Professor of Social Psychology at Anglia Ruskin University.
I'm Robert Boland. I'm the Head of Product Engineering at Metel. We're a Cambridge, London-based startup that allows you to create 3D body models.
But when a person looks at a model in a marketing campaign, what exactly are they looking for? Because it's not just a reflection. Not just a reflection of themselves. Otherwise, that would be the norm by now. Surely, there must be something there. They want to aspire towards looking like that person.
I think, historically, the kind of the traditional view of advertising and marketing was that if you present something aspirational, people will want that thing. In fact, more recent psychological knowledge suggests that actually that's really just a kind of very small part of what's going on. I think one of the big problems with media representations is that very few people feel like they're represented in the media. This might be due to ethnicity, but body size, age, all kinds of different factors. There is a very specific demographic that typically is represented on the media, and if you don't see yourself represented, then you're less likely to identify with the people you see on the media. Which I think something like the tool that you have, where people will be represented, where they can see themselves, maybe not necessarily in the media, but certainly in terms of what they choose to buy, I think would certainly be helpful for a lot of people trying to buy clothes.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting there. It's moving closer. It's an interesting balance, trying to bring the kind of how you shop in the physical world into the online industry, and the way that you can imagine that bridge happening is through virtual models or being able to see something online.
What your business does is completely, well, not completely, but different to what Shudo, the virtual model, is trying to accomplish. Do you think there is any sort of issue with that? Would it be problematic to start using these CGI models instead of real models?
So at the moment, the Shudo model, I think each image takes the creator about 3 days to create. So they're high quality images, fashion images. But at the moment, it's not realistic to assume that that's going to replace all model imagery. However, down the line, it's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, I saw this sort of chart that suggested how fashion and online shopping might work in the future, and it said, this girl wants to go to a party, right? So she needs to get a dress from somewhere. So she goes online and she has this virtual avatar created for her, and she picks out what mood she wants, what colour she'd like, and then the AI would also go through her browser history. It would say, right, you've looked at this dress, and we're going to sort of combine it into one thing. Maybe give you a couple options, you choose your favourite one. They 3D print it and then send it to you, which seems like a good idea on the surface, but also a bit of an invasion of privacy. Because, I certainly wouldn't want something going through my browser history, although I'm sure it already does, but it seems like that's giving away too much information to some. I'm not suggesting that's everyone. I'm sure there's people who would gladly use that service, but it is quite a lot of personal data that you might not give away.
Yeah, I think it will always have to be a choice of the users. It would be a bit creepy if that just got presented to you. I think with fashion as well, you're always going to want that element of choice, right? So you want to have a say in what you're wearing, because it's a personal thing. And as much as the algorithms can help guide you, and they may give you good recommendations, you're always going to, I think, want that personal feeling of choosing what you're going to wear. In terms of the data sharing, you're right. It's an interesting issue, and it's something that we've also encountered a little bit. We had some technology a few years ago. Well, we still have it, but it's not in our core product because it involved uploading a picture of yourself standing in your underwear, and that's not necessarily something that people want uploaded to the cloud and living somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think the data aspect, the sharing of personal data is an interesting one. I think people are gradually getting used to it as Google and Amazon and everybody are collecting this anyways. I think people's expectations are gradually changing so that they expect personalized recommendations, and they're okay ticking the box to share some data to make that happen. It's a balance, and I think there is kind of that line of when it becomes creepy.
And why seems like a fairly obvious question, but why might someone not want to just send a pic of them in their pants to a website?
Because someone might go and see it. I suppose the key question though is, you have the opportunity maybe to upload some data about yourself, and probably a lot of data about yourself. The converse to that would be to walk into a shop and pick up some clothes off the shelf. And I think for a lot of people that choice is still an easy one, because they don't like sharing personal information about themselves, and they certainly don't want to put up a picture of themselves in their underwear onto somewhere where someone else might be able to see that and access that data. And if the choice is between having to do that and going into shop, I think some people might still choose the shop, because I think in the shop as well you get the dynamic nature of clothing as well. It's not just, you don't just see what you can buy, you can also feel what you can buy. You can see how it moves on you and all that kind of stuff.
I think the shift will be gradual, right? So the new iPhone, for example, can create a 3D mesh of your face, and actually the sensor is probably good enough to do the same for your body, but it's too power hungry basically. But technology is going to get there. A few more generations of iPhones, you'll be able to create a 3D mesh of your body. And at that stage it maybe becomes a bit less personal. You're not actually uploading a picture of yourself, it's just a collection of measurements, and people still might not be comfortable sharing that. But there's an element of, isn't this interesting? I wonder what this can give to me. What am I going to get out of being able to see all of my measurements online? And I think it will be that trade-off where there's a level of anonymization, so it's not a picture of you in your underwear anymore, along with kind of seeing the benefits that will get you. That's how I see that kind of moving forward, basically.
Yeah, and I also think there's a difference between giving a tailor, who owns a small business, your measurements, and giving it to a corporation. Because, like you said, who knows what they're going to do with the data? Like, where are they going to send it? They could use that to make even more specific advertising when you open up Facebook or something. Yeah.
And one of the problems it might get around those, I think one of the difficulties that lots of different companies have different sizing, even for the kind of the standard stuff. Like, I don't know what my collar size is, because I have to go into every shop and work that out from scratch, because they have different sizing methods. Where I'm a 15 in one, I might be a 14 in a different one. I know my neck isn't changing in size, it's just simply how they've measured things in their clothing. So I think providing like very limited data like that, for example, if I could have an app that just said, your neck measurement is, and I could then take that to, say, for example, your company, and they would just produce a collar that fits me perfectly. And that's what I would like. But I think the difficulty is then saying, well, from there we also need your inner thigh measurement, and I'm starting to get slightly more uncomfortable about what kind of data I'm putting up. But I remember when I first started working in this area, the only kind of scanning that was available, you'd have to go into this massive giant scanner, and it would scan your whole body three-dimensionally. I remember back in the day, I think it was one of the big stores on Oxford Street. They had a scanner that you would be able to walk in, and that was the level about maybe 10, 15 years ago. Yeah. See how quickly it's developed. I reckon we'll be at a stage not too far from, like you say, where we'll be scanning everything. Maybe not everything, but...
Yeah, going back to the virtual models, aside from, we've discussed the ethics, we've discussed how it might shape the future of the fashion industry, but what is the psychology behind being aspiring to this person who's not real, who's a computer-generated image?
I think aspiring and being attracted to are very different things. So I think being aspiring to something like a model that you see on say one of these avatars, I think it's quite easy to aspire to that, because it kind of promotes this idea that there is a certain way of being that you should be, and if you are like that, then somehow you'll be happier and you'll be more successful and you'll be more satisfied with everything that you have. So I think it kind of presents a version of life where you can have everything if you look a certain way, and I think that's the kind of maybe the aspirational part. Whether or not you can fall in love and be attracted with these models, I think it's quite an interesting philosophical question, because obviously at the moment they don't have intelligence, they're simply images on on screen. At some point, we as human beings and the societies will be able to create avatars with actual artificial intelligence, and then I think you might be in a bit more difficult scenario where it might be possible to feel real attraction and feel a real sense of maybe belonging and love with avatars that actually can interact and engage with you.
That does sound slightly terrifying. But yeah, we will have to see what happens in the future then. You have these robot companions, as it were, to put it politely, that may come into the public market very soon. That could bring into a whole different question of what makes us human, which we don't really have time to address on this show. Maybe next time. Thank you for joining us, guys. It's been a very fruitful discussion. I'm sure that your company will go places in the future, and it will be interesting to see what effect these virtual models have on us. Thanks a lot.
Thanks very much.